The Flints of Memory Lane. I like things to be story-shaped. Reality, however, is not story-shaped. And the eruptions of the odd into our lives are not story-shaped either. They do not end in entirely satisfactory ways. Recounting the strange is like telling one's dreams. One can communicate the events of a dream, but not the emotional content, the way that a dream can color one's entire day. There were places I believed to be haunted as a child, abandoned houses and places that scared me. My solution was to avoid them. And so, while my sisters had wholly satisfactory tales of strange figures glimpsed in the windows of empty houses, I had none. I still don't. This is my ghost story, and an unsatisfactory thing it is, too. I was 15. We lived in a new house, built in the garden of our old house. I still missed the old house. It had been a big old manor house. We had lived in half of it. The people who lived in the other half had sold it to property developers, so my father sold our half a house to them as well. This was in Sussex, in a town that was crossed by the zero meridian. I lived in the Eastern Hemisphere and went to school on the Western Hemisphere. The old house had been a treasure trove of strange things. Lumps of glittering marble and glass bulbs filled with liquid mercury, doors that open onto brick walls, mysterious toys, things old and things forgotten. My own house, a Victorian brick edifice in the middle of America, is, I am told, haunted. There are few people who will spend the night here alone anymore. My assistant tells me of her nights of her own here, of the porcelain gesture music box that spontaneously began to play in the night, of her utter conviction that someone was watching her. Other people have complained of similar things following nights alone. I have never had any unsettling experiences here. But then, I have never spent a night here alone. And I am not entirely sure that I would wish to. There is no ghost when I am here, I said once, when asked if my house was haunted. Perhaps it is you who haunt it then, someone suggested. But truly I doubt it. If we have a ghost here, it is a fearful creature, more afraid of us than we are of it. But I was telling of our old house, which was sold and knocked down, and I could not bear to see it empty, could not stand to see it being torn apart and bulldozed. My heart was in that house, and even now, at night, before I sleep, I hear the wind sighing through the rowan tree outside my bedroom window 25 years ago. So we moved into a new house, built, as I said, in the garden of the old one, and some years went by. Then, the house was halfway down a winding flint road, surrounded by fields and trees, in the middle of nowhere. Now, I am certain, were I to go back, I would find the flint road paved, the fields an endless housing estate. But I do not go back. I was 15, skinny and gawky, and wanting desperately to be cool. It was night, in autumn. Outside our house was a lamppost, installed when the house was built, as out of place in the lampless countryside as the lamppost in the Narnia stories. It was a sodium light, which burned yellow and washed out all other colors, turning everything yellow and black. She was not my girlfriend. My girlfriend lived in Croydon, where I went to school, a gray-eyed blonde of unimaginable beauty who was, as she often complained to me, puzzled, never able to figure out why she was going out with me. But she was a friend, and she lived about a 10-minute walk away from me, beyond the fields, in the older part of the town. I was going to walk over to her house to play records and sit and talk. I walked out of our house, ran down the grass slope to the drive, and stopped dead in front of a woman standing beneath the street lamp, staring up at the house. She was dressed like a gypsy queen in a stage play, or a Moorish princess. She was handsome, not beautiful. She has no colors in my memory, save only shades of yellow and black. And, startled to find myself standing opposite someone where I had expected no one, I said, "Hello." The woman said nothing. She looked at me. "Are you looking for anyone?" I said, or something of that sort. And again she said nothing. And still she looked at me, this unlikely woman, in the middle of nowhere, dressed like something from a dream, and still she said nothing at all. She began to smile, though, and it was not a nice smile. And suddenly, I found myself scared, utterly, profoundly scared, like a character in a dream, and I walked away, down the drive, heart thudding in my chest and around the corner. I stood there, out of sight of the house, for a moment, and then I looked back, and there was no one standing in the lamplight. I was 50 paces from the house, but I could not, would not, turn around and go back. I was too scared. Instead, I ran up the dark, tree-lined Flint Lane and into the old town, and up another road and down the road to my friend's house, and got there speechless, breathless, jabbering and scared, as if all the hounds of hell had chased me there. I told her my story, and we phoned my parents, who told me there was no one standing under the street light, and agreed, a little reluctantly, to come and drive me home, as I would not walk home that night. And that is all there is to my story. I wish there was more. I wish I could tell you about the gypsy encampment that was burned down on that site 200 years earlier, or anything that would give some sense of closure to the story, anything that would make it story-shaped. But there was no such encampment. So, like all eruptions of the odd and strange into my world, the event sits there, unexplained. It is not story-shaped. And, in memory, all I have is the yellow-black of her smile, and the shadow of the fear that followed. This is a practice reading of The Flints of Memory Lane, from Fragile Things, Short Fictions and Wonders, written by Neil Gaiman.